a Freilich and Chanukah. This is a story which I've told over for the last 14, 15, 16 years. Some of this I anticipate. No, more than that. And it's my favorite Hanukkah story. In one of the last transports to arrive in Bergen-Belsen, which was one of the notorious concentration camps of the Yamach the Nazis, towards the end of World War II, in this camp, there was a Jew by the name of Rab Shmelki Schnitzler Zal. He was a chassid and a Talmud Chacham with warm and penetrating eyes. Most amazingly, he maintained a mood of genuine cheerfulness, a rare disposition to find the horrible environment of a concentration camp. He worked hard to encourage his fellow inmates at every turn and make their lives a bit brighter. At the end of 1944, though, as winter was approaching, Shmelki was nagged by a compelling problem, one that got more and more urgent daily. How could he possibly get some oil with which to light the Chanukah lights? Yontif was only a few short days away. He consulted everyone with whom he came into contact, but no one had any oil, anything that oil could be substituted for oil. Still, Shmelki did not give in to despair. The mitzvah of lighting the Chanukah lights was much too important to him, and besides, it would allow him to provide a surge of much-needed encouragement to the desperate Jews in the camp. On the day before Chanukah, Shmelki had to hurry to one of the barracks to the far end of the camp. Someone had passed away just that day. He was assigned the job of removing the bodies of the many who died from starvation nebuch. Not far from the edge of the fence at the edge of the camp, he stumbled when his foot sank into a patch of earth that turned out to be covering a small hole. It was clear that someone had dug this hole on purpose. He looked at the shallow depression and he saw that there was a solid object buried there. Now he could see a little bit. He knelt down and scraped out some of the dirt with his hands. It was a small jar, half filled with some liquid. He took off the cover and dipped his finger in gingerly. It was oil. His thoughts immediately flashed to the original Chanukah Nace miracle of finding a single jug of oil. How could this be happening? Was he dreaming? Then he noticed that the jar had been concealing other objects beneath it. He dug out some more with his hands and uncovered a small package wrapped in a swatch of cloth. In it were 8 small cups and 8 little thin strands of cotton. This was almost too impossible to believe. Someone had intentionally buried this Chanukah stash, thought Reb Shmelki, as he quickly replaced everything back into the hole, filling it with dirt and carefully smoothing the surface. It would be much too dangerous to keep these materials in his possession until Chanukah began the next night. Besides, perhaps someone would come back for it. Shmelki circulated among as many of the inmates as he could during the next day and a half, casually asking if anyone had hidden a quantity of oil in a hiding place. Everyone stared at him as if he was out of his senses. The next night, Shmelki stealthily recovered the buried items and set up a menorah. All the Jews in his barrack crowded around as he lit the first candle. He struck a match and recited the brachas with great emotion before touching the tiny flame to the thin strands of the first candle. He struck the match and said the brachas with great emotion. It was a scene from a storybook, in stark contrast to the harsh environment of the concentration camp, a ray of hope that repeated itself for a total of 8 nights. The elderly Shmelki managed to survive the next few months until the conquering Allied forces liberated the camp. His faith and hope had proven victorious. In time, he was able to make the journey to the United States of America, where he once found himself visiting the Holy Satmar Rebbe, Rabbi Yoel Teitelbaum Zatzal, who lived in Brooklyn. The Rebbe welcomed him with great warmth, and after conversing for a short while, the Rebbe suddenly said, "I hear that you had the honor of lighting Chanukah candles in Bergen-Belsen." Rabbi Shmelki was surprised. How had the Rebbe known? Rabbi Yoel bent over and whispered in his astonished visitor's ear, "I am the one who hid the oil, the cups, and the wicks in the hole next to the fence when I was imprisoned in Bergen-Belsen the year before you, before my miraculous escape." The Rebbe smiled. "I knew that Hashem would allow the right person to find it at the right time and do the right thing." Happy Chanukah.